Mr. Chairman. Just to inform, as far as the previous comments go, I think Congress can do a couple of things at once if we need to. But Governor, Mr. Mayor, we appreciate your testimony, as well as Secretary LaHood. You do have a great perspective. Good to see you back, Tim. We miss you, but you're in a good place. We're at a very important juncture right now, and it's a great opportunity because while Chairman DeFazio is trying to cobble together, a major infrastructure bill, we also, on financial services, we're trying to address the next iteration of our national flood insurance program. And both of those, Chairwoman Napolitano and the flood insurance effort, really look at climate change and the impacts it's having on our communities. Los Angeles has a similar profile as Boston does in my district. But there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect. So I'm a former iron worker. I was an iron worker for almost 20 years, strapped on a pair of work boots every day, built bridges, basically, and high-rise towers. And right now in my state, I have 483 bridges that are deficient. And that's a disgrace to me as an iron worker, you know. And you worry about your families traveling over those bridges, the ones that are still open. In my role as a member of Congress, I talk to my governor. He's a Republican, Charlie Baker. I ask him what his priorities are. I go to my mayors, Marty Walsh, Joe Sullivan, Tom Koch, Bob Hedlund. I say, what are your priorities as mayors? Because they're on the ground. They have a real keen sense of what the priorities should be and where the money would do the most good. I honestly think that the big question here is going to be on how do we get people behind the funding issue, if it's a raising the gas tax or whatever it is. And I think the way to link that up and to win the campaign for an increase in funding, to put the trust back into the Highway Trust Fund is really to link those up. I would support a proposal that said earmarks are not going to come from Congress anymore. Earmarks have to come from my Board of Selectmen, my town manager, my mayor, my governor, my state reps and senators. That has to come from the local community. And then, of course, we have competing needs in all our communities. They have to come, those requests have to come to Congress and obviously would have to be the arbiter of what gets funded in terms of need and the priorities that come from the states and local governments. So, is that a way? I'd like to hear your thoughts because you're sort of at the so-called tip of the spear on all of this. You're hearing the complaints. You're dealing with this stuff. If a bridge has got to be closed down for one lane because it can't handle the weight of 2 lanes of traffic, it's the governor and the mayor that are dealing with that. I'd just like to hear your thoughts on trying to reconfigure what we're doing here so that we take the distaste away from earmarks and restore, as I said, that trust that I think has been lost because of some of these other projects that have, been talked about in the press extensively about the misuse of power and resources.
Well, I share your approach, Congressman. I trust mayors. They know best. They bring you these projects. We did something, some of you weren't here long enough. We used to have these member-directed projects, earmarks, and one of the things that cleaned up a lot of this was just put them on the internet, put them out there, show who requested it, and allow for citizen comments that you can do these things. We can prioritize these things and then come up with a way to deliver it. It's just a way, I think, of better accountability. I think it brings faith back into the system. People will, if they see where their tax dollars are going, exactly. It makes a big difference, and I think you have to bring faith back into it, and that does start to get at this funding piece on how you get there, and I think it starts by you listening to your mayors makes a difference. That's who I listen to.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor?
I think it's a wonderful idea. I think that you got to trust democracy. We're either small d Democrats, all of us, or not. You either think that people know what's best on their block and in their community, and using, I think, elected bodies at the state and local level are proof that Washington trusts democracy across America. it would be, I think, a big show of faith. So I think that would be a great way to do it. We'd love to work with you at the U.S. Conference of Mayors and maybe see about how that could be done and how, there's always going to be some cases in which, well, maybe my local body completely disagrees with me, but I think there's ways to work that so you have multiple ways to input that. But, specific projects get done. The American people need to know that specific projects get done. Who do you want deciding that? Somebody who's not elected, who's a selected bureaucrat, or somebody who's an elected representative? I think that's an easy answer. And I appreciate your restraint in not talking about football. Thank you.
I yield back my time.
Thank you. Mr.